Hi, everyone. I have to figure out the YouTube magic of what people do when they have to pee, because I literally peed like 3 times in the last 15 minutes. I don't know how people. I need to stop looking at this. Hold on 1 second. Let me adjust something. So I stopped. This should be better. Okay. So I have 2 monitors, and my one monitor has all my chat and stuff on it. So I keep looking over instead of forward. So if I look up, that's what I'm looking at. Yes, I'm on time. I'm always on time. And hopefully I don't look like a floating head today, because that's what hubby said last time. Because I had a black shirt on and my black hair. I was just kind of like a floating head in the background. But I need to get a new colored curtain so that way it doesn't contrast with my hair. But yeah, I don't know how people go live for like 10 hours and not pee, because I have the worst bladder ever. Like, after having a kid, it's like over for me. I'm just getting over a cold, so if I break out in a cough, or if I have to mute for a second, it's probably because I'm coughing. Can you hear him in the background? He's gaming. I try to like create a sound barrier between us, but my mic picks up everything, so you'll probably hear him. Before I start, I have this really good sugar-free Red Bull. Is the bomb. It's seriously my favorite thing ever. I'm totally addicted to it. Hey, Jem! Hi, Sarah, Melania. Hold on, let me make sure I got everybody. Crystal. Yeah, I love sugar-free Red Bull. I drink like a lot a day. It's ridiculous. And this is a 16, and it's like 9:30, so I'll probably be up all night. But yeah, that's what Dave said too, that the black looks better than the pink. So the pink, they said, like, makes me look pink. Hey, Annalise. And like flushes me out a little bit. And it gets a little fuzzy because it's a green screen. So I was like, you know what, forget it. I'm just gonna put like a black curtain behind me because it's easier. Because I'm like set up in like a storage room, and it's just not very pretty. So y'all don't want to see that. Before I start Johnny Depp, I have like the worst ADD, so I keep forgetting what I'm talking about. But if we have time, I don't know how long this Johnny. Hey, Captain Kangaroo, I'm good. How are you? I don't know how long our Johnny Depp talk will go, but I have this idea. So I was bored the other day. It's not really been popping in the true crime world. Oh, you like the black? Oh, good. I mean, I might get like gray or something, because my hair like blends into it, and I don't know, it looks weird, but maybe I'll get like a dark gray or like a different color. But it has to be something that goes with my pink. This is like the best chair ever. If anyone needs a good office chair, well, it's really a gaming chair, but it's so comfortable. Hey, Thumb Thug. Respawn is totally worth the money. So I was bored because there's not really much been going on in the true crime world. So I was like, you know what? Let me like look up like cases around where I live. And I found some really, like, I had no idea that there was so many high profile cases in my area, or like interesting cases. So if we don't talk about Johnny Depp for too long, I will talk about some of those cases. And then I thought it would probably be pretty cool if like my subs wanted me to look into cases from like where they live, or somewhere where they want me to look into. I mean, obviously you don't have to tell me publicly where you live, and I won't say where you live, but if you want to email me and say where you're from, hold on, I'll post my email, okay? I can look up people's hometowns and look at the cases there. And if people are really passionate about cases in their hometown, they can come up and talk with me about it. But I thought that would be fun because I was totally shocked at how many like cool cases in the area that was. So while we're waiting for some interesting true crime to happen, that would be some stuff to have both and adult candy. I'm good. Yeah, there's so many cases. Like I was so into it last night. Like I'm gonna try and talk about him tonight because I was so into it. I thought it'd be really cool, and it'd be like a cool way for people. Like I had no idea all those cases were in my area, and I'm sure a lot of people have no idea too that there's some like really cool cases from where they're from. And another thing I wanted to bring up on Twitter today, you guys know how much I love the Morphew case and how obsessed with it I am. Let me get my Twitter real quick so I can read this for you. I know I retweeted it, so give me a second. Okay. So Mark Salinger, I think he's a reporter from Colorado. He covered covered a lot of the Morphew trial stuff. Tweets, Linda Stanley, district attorney who became well known for bringing murder charges against Barry Morphew, has had her law license suspended for not continuing legal education requirements with the state. Attorney Regulation Council tells me this is very unusual for a DA. Yeah, Jim, exactly. There's so many cases you don't know about. Like I was floored. I mean, there's some really crazy ass cases from my area. But anyway, so Linda, she had 3 years to, when you have like a job and you have to do that like training that's required, you have to get so many hours. Well, she had to get 45 hours. Sorry, hold on. My blanket's all stuck under me. She had to get 45 hours in 3 years, and she didn't. So her law license is suspended. So I have no idea how that goes. Like, I don't know if she's still DA or if they get a new DA or replace her. I have no idea how that works because she can't practice law. So I'd imagine she can't write up motions and stuff, right? So we'll see. Maybe she's been too busy digging up Suzanne's body on that mountain under 5 feet of snow. Not trying to sound like a jerk, but I just don't think it was there, and I think she made it up. But, Carmen sounds about right for Linda. Yeah, I mean, she just doesn't seem to care about anything. Amber Heard's pledge. Hey, that has to be, is that 3-Boy Mom? I'm guessing that's her. I love it. So yeah, let's get to the tea. How about that? If anyone wants to come up too, hold on, I'll share the link just in case, but you don't have to. But if you want to come up and talk about it, I was hyped today. I was at home and I was watching it on my TV, and I had to go pick up my kid at school. And like I get in the car line, I'm like clapping and cheering. And then I pulled up, and my neighbor was in his doorway waiting for his kid to get off the bus, and he's like, "Did you hear about Amber Heard?" And I've never even talked to him about the case before, but like I guess people are just so into the case that he just like was excited to like ask somebody about it. So yes, if I've been watching, so we were like cheering together. But yeah, they found her. Like on all counts, they pretty much don't believe her at all. And she won on one count about Adam Waldman's tweets. So Adam Waldman, I showed his tweets before, you guys. That was the one night where I was like going crazy because I couldn't believe how much well, I don't know if I showed them or I read them, but just Just so everyone knows, I'm probably only showing up in chats and not at the ACLU or Children's Hospital. Yes. Besides Elon's money getting sent. But yeah, everyone's talking about it. This is why I hate going on camera, so I can't stop looking at it. When I was like a teenager, I got hit by a drunk driver when I was crossing the street, and I got like a big cut on my head. So it's like every time I look in the camera, it looks like there's like a dent on my head, and it drives me crazy. I need to like put it away, but I can't not look. But yeah, so the one count that they found, there was that she got on her counterclaim, which I kind of feel like maybe they just gave it to her because they felt bad. But like, I think it had to do with the phone calls. So they found that Adam Waldman saying that the situation with so when they got that big fight at the penthouse, and she called the police, and sorry, my nose is itchy. All right, she called her lawyer, and then she called her publicist. So they got in a big physical fight. Thank you, guys. You're gonna make me blush on camera. So where was I? They got in a big fight, and a big fight. And after this big physical fight, Amber decides, instead of calling the police right away, to call her lawyer and to call her publicist, which I thought was kind of weird, because if you just got like pummeled by a man, my first thought wouldn't be, call my publicist and call the lawyer. But I don't know, I'm not famous, so maybe I'm just, that's normal. But they called them first, and then they called the police, and then the police came, and the police really didn't see any marks on her face or any damage to the house. And then there was a second call to the police, which they acted like they didn't do, but a lot of people think that they messed up the house a little bit, and then called the police again because like the first time wasn't good enough. So the jury found that like Adam Waldman's statement about that was defamatory, I guess. Yeah. Calling the publicist is shady. I agree. I think it is too. I mean, I'm not a celebrity, so I don't know how that stuff works, but it seems shady to me. I mean, my first thought wouldn't be to do that. My first thought would be to call the cops. Oh, thanks, Rena. And I'll have to thank Brittany later for sharing it. Thank you for coming and supporting me. Wait, did I share the StreamYard link? Okay, I did. All right. But yeah, so she won on that count. She got $2 million from that, and Johnny got $5 million and $10 million, and then, but it got brought down because he got money for punitive damages, which punitive damages is like, if you don't know what it is, it's like extra money for your troubles that they feel like you deserve on top of the money you get for the lawsuit, if that makes sense. Like, let me see if I can find like a definition of it so I can make it sound a little better, but that's kind of what it is. So I guess like so like punitive means like, yeah, so damages exceeding simple compensation and awarded to punish the defendant. So they really found her to be a lawyer for giving him money in punitive damages, which they don't have to do, but if you do it, it's basically saying like he deserves this money because like she did you dirty and he deserves more money. So basically he was awarded, I forget how much, like over $1 million in punitive damages, but they had to cap it because in Virginia they only allow $350,000 cap for punitive damages. I would imagine that it's subtracted from what she owes him. Like, I imagine that. Yeah, punitive is for your suffering. Thanks, Jim. That's what I was trying to say in simpler terms. Yeah, 350K. It caps there in Virginia at least. So, but yeah, Rena, I would imagine that it's just subtracted from what she owes him. But I think altogether he gets like maybe 8 million, or between 8 and 10 million. But yeah, and you know what? In my opinion, being on Team Johnny with, hey, if anyone is Team Amber, I am totally, open to hearing people's opinions about it. But in my opinion, uh, Adam Waldman is a hero for Johnny, and Johnny really 8.65 million at the end. Yeah, I knew it was something like that. But yeah, if it wasn't for Adam Waldman, in my opinion, she may have gotten away with it. But like, I think he really risked his career to well, you know what? It's basically she's giving him back the divorce settlement plus another 1.5 million. But yeah, so I forget what I was saying. Before I totally forgot what I was saying. Yeah, it is a crazy amount of money for sure. Oh, Adam Waldman, that's what I was saying. So basically, at the UK trial, his case was super gutted. Like, I don't know how it like works out there, but the judge was just really weird. Like, the judge didn't allow a lot of evidence, and a lot of the decisions the judge made were just kind of like, I believe this person because I just do, and that's it. Like, it seemed as though the judge based a lot of his opinions on Johnny's drug use and believing, like, a lot of his decision had to do with believing that Amber paid off the donation in full when she didn't. He believed, he was under the impression that she had paid the money because they were calling her like a gold digger. And the judge was like, oh, she's not a gold digger. She donated her whole divorce settlement to charity, which she did not. But that's what the judge thought. Yeah, both men and women can abuse. I agree. And you know what? I think, like, I kind of get bothered when people are like, oh, this is going to ruin it for women everywhere. Like, why does it have to be so, like, gender stereotyped? I just don't. I think there's probably just as many men who get abused. I mean, it's different. Like, obviously, men are bigger and stronger, but I think there's a lot of men who do get abused and they don't come forward because men are, they would be embarrassed to come forward because they're supposed to be like the strong one. And I mean, I know a lot of guys who got like constantly beat up by their girlfriends when they would fight. You know what I mean? It's just, I think it's actually more common than people think. And I think if anybody did harm to the Me Too movement, yeah, they're way more ashamed to come forward. And I think if anyone did any harm to the Me Too movement, it was Amber Heard, for sure. But I think, like I was saying, Adam Waldman, after the UK trial where the UK judge left out a lot of his evidence, which is really important because all that evidence was allowed in the US and it wasn't allowed in the UK trial. Just to do it real quick, the police officers who came to the house who didn't see any damages in the house, any damage on her face, they weren't allowed because they didn't take notes. Her personal assistant wasn't allowed because she felt like she was a disgruntled employee. The front desk guy wasn't allowed because she thought that their conversation was 8 minutes long, but it was really 2 minutes long. But I don't understand why that makes a difference, because you could still tell if there's a bruise on somebody's face or not in 2 minutes, in my opinion. The funny guy who was in the car, Alejandro, he wasn't allowed to testify. There was another woman, she was at a birthday party that didn't see bruises on her face. She wasn't allowed to testify. Johnny's bodyguard wasn't allowed to testify because the judge said that they were loyal to Johnny, so she didn't take it seriously, but she believed Amber's friends who were loyal to her, and she thought their testimony was credible. So there's a lot more, but the audios, she said the audios didn't really hold any weight. Also, she didn't I keep saying the judge in the UK said that he didn't really care that Amber told people to lie. Sorry, y'all. I swiped over my keyboard and somehow it kicked me out. So what was I saying? The audios of her admitting to hitting him, he said he said that it doesn't really hold that much weight. And then the Australia incident, she asked people to lie for her about the dogs, and the judge didn't care and said that it doesn't affect her credibility to him, which is weird. Like, why wouldn't that affect her credibility? She asked people to lie for her. And then yeah, Jim. Hey, Lori M. I swiped across my keyboard with my mouse on my laptop with my finger by accident. Hova, be quiet. Inside joke. Oh Lord. Anyway, yeah. So he still found her credible, even though she asked people to lie for him. And then Amber showed a picture of a door that was punched and said it was after an altercation in the Bahamas, but the door was actually from LA, and like the judge said it didn't matter, that it was just peripheral. And yeah, so his case was gutted, and Adam Waldman was so upset about that, and I think he cared so much about getting Johnny's voice out there that he went on Twitter and started tweeting all the evidence that wasn't allowed and why. Like, he showed the judge's decisions on each one, like why the judge didn't allow it, and posted it all up. And he showed all the photos, like after she got a broken nose and black eyes, and then the next day she was totally fine. So he showed all those photos and all that, and he shared the audio recordings, I believe. And that's when the tides really turned, where people started seeing that Amber was an abuser too. And he got banned from Twitter for it, and he wasn't allowed in the UK trial, and he wasn't allowed in the US trial either. So I don't know if it affected his law license at all, but I mean, he really went out on a limb for Johnny. So he's somewhat of a hero, in my opinion, for Johnny. But let me drag this over, and I can play the verdict real quick. Give me 1 second. I just want to show her face if anyone hasn't. I'm sure everyone has seen it, but can I play it on? There we go. Let's hope that they don't strike me. How long is this? Oh, it's not that long. All right. I'll speed it up and play it real quick. Yeah, at the UK case, it was jacked. I mean, almost every one of his witnesses weren't allowed. Like, everyone. It's ridiculous. Hopefully this isn't too... If everyone's already watched it, I could play Amber. Well, I'll play this just in case. And then I'll play Amber coming out of the courthouse. Share.
Now the judges returning to the courtroom. Let's listen in.
All right. Shall we try this again? All right. Let's do that. All right. We're ready for the jury.
They're rising now, the judges returning to the courtroom. Let's listen in.
All right. Shall we try this again? All right. Let's do that. All right. We're ready for the jury.
For some reason. Hold on.
911.
Why is
Mr.
there no
Depp's claim
sound?
against
What
Ms.
am
Hurd.
I doing wrong
1.
here?
As to the statement appearing in the online op-ed entitled,
Oh, I know
Amber Heard,
why.
I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change. In the Washington Post online edition, quote,
Judges returning to the courtroom. Let's listen in.
All right. Shall we try this again? All right.
Mr. Depp's claim
Yeah, I
against
agree.
Ms.
Her
Hurd.
craziness makes her
1.
ugly.
As to the statement appearing in
There's no sound. Ugh. Why isn't it working? I did it. Let me try going out and coming back in. All right, I'm gonna try again and tell me if you hear it. If not, then fuck it.
Two, as to the statement appearing in the op-ed entitled A Transformative Moment for Women in the Washington Post print edition and the online op-ed, Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and face our culture's wrath. That has to change. In the Washington Post online edition. Quote, then 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse, and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath.
Is it working now? If not, I don't know why it's doing it. Okay. All right, good.
For women who speak out, end quote. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes. Has Mr. Depp proven by a greater weight of the evidence that, question, the statement was made or published by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was false? Answer, yes. Question, the statement has a defamatory implication about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Question, the defamatory implication was designed and intended by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, due to circumstances surrounding the publication of the statement, it conveyed a defamatory implication to someone who saw it other than Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven by clear and convincing evidence that Ms. Heard acted with actual malice? Answer, yes. 3, as to the statement appearing in the op-ed entitled A Transformative Moment for Women in the Washington Post print edition and the online op-ed, Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change, in the Washington Post online edition. Quote, I have the rare
I'm
point
just
of
used to
seeing in
saying
real time
Hova.
how institutions protect men accused of abuse, end quote. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes. Has Mr. Depp proven by a greater weight of the evidence that, question, the statement was made or published by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was false? Answer, yes. Question, the statement has a defamatory implication about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Question, the defamatory implication was designed and intended by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, due to circumstances surrounding the publication of this statement, it conveyed a defamatory implication to someone who saw it other than Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven by clear and convincing evidence that Ms. Heard acted with actual malice? Answer, yes. As against Amber Heard, we, the jury, award compensatory damages in the amount of $10 million. As against Amber Heard, we, the jury, award punitive damages in the amount of $5 million. In civil case number CL 2019-2911, Ms. Heard's claim against Mr. Depp. 1, as to this statement appearing in the April 8, 2020 online edition of the Daily Mail, quote, Amber Heard and her friends in the media use fake sexual violence allegations as both a sword and shield, depending on their needs. They have selected some of her sexual violence hoax facts as the sword, inflicting them on the public and Mr. Depp. Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, no. 2, as to this statement appearing in the April 27, 2020 online edition of the Daily Mail, quote, quite simply, this was an ambush, a hoax. They set Mr. Depp up by calling the cops, but the first attempt did not do the trick. The officers came to the penthouses, thoroughly searched and interviewed, and left after seeing no damage to face or property. So Amber and her friends spilled a little wine and roughed the place up, got their story straight under the direction of a lawyer and publicist, and then placed a second call to 911, end quote. Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes. Has Ms. Heard proven by a greater weight of the evidence that, question, Mr. Waldman, while acting as an agent for Mr. Depp, made or published this statement? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was about Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was seen by someone other than Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was false? Answer, yes. Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven by clear and convincing evidence that the statement by Mr. Waldman was made with actual malice? Answer, yes. 3, as to this statement appearing in the April 27, 2020 online edition of the Daily Mail, quote, we've reached the beginning of the end of Ms. Heard's abuse hoax against Johnny Depp, end quote. Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, no. As against John C. Depp II, we, the jury, award compensatory damages in the amount of $2 million. As against John C. Depp II, we, the jury, award punitive damages in the amount of $0.
They keep closing in and not showing like the spectators, so I can't tell. I'm like hoping they zoom out
Members
at
of the
one
jury,
point.
if this is your verdict, please answer yes. If this is not your verdict, please answer no.
You
Juror
can't
number
miss
6,
MGL if she's in there.
Juror
You
number
would,
10.
you would see her right away.
Juror number 15.
Yes.
Juror number 16.
Yes.
Juror number 22.
Yes.
Juror number 27. Juror number 29.
Yes.
I do find that the jury's verdict is unanimous. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes your service in this case. I want to thank you again for your dedication and your hard work during this trial. I know I speak for everybody here when I tell you that we appreciate your sacrifices and your time and your public service in this matter, okay? So I'm going to have you go back to the jury deliberation room for one more time, and then we'll release you from there, okay? All right, thank you.
Camille looked like she was choking up a little bit. Yeah, I couldn't tell if she's sad or mad or what, or if she was trying to look sad, but I can't tell with her. Her emotions all over the place. Oh, wow. Just a FYI, guys. Behavior panel put a video up an hour ago about her reaction to the verdict. Should I put it on? I don't think they'll strike me. I can't tell if she's sad or not. I can't tell. I think she's mad but trying to look sad. But hey, we can put on body language experts and find out. How long is the video? Oh, it's only like 14 minutes. I want to play it. Hopefully they don't strike me. I don't think they will, but they seem like nice guys, right? The behavior panel. I don't think they'd strike me for playing it. I mean, me and Brittany J played it on her channel, and I don't think they struck her. So, all right, we'll play it real quick.
Come to an end, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Greg wants to still video.
Tell me if it's too fast.
Yeah, we're going to watch a couple of minutes of this video from the verdict. We're not going to watch the entire 42 questions being read. It's more of the same. We'll cover what we see here and tie that back to the entire case.
This is the verdict of the jury?
Yes.
All right, is it unanimous? Yes. Thank you, sir.
Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes. Has Mr. Depp proven by a greater weight of the evidence that question, the statement was made or published by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was false? Answer, yes. Question, the statement has a defamatory implication about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Question, the defamatory implication was designed and intended by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven by clear and convincing evidence that Ms. Heard acted with actual malice? Answer, yes. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven by clear and convincing evidence that Ms. Heard acted with actual malice? Answer, yes. As against Amber Heard, we, the jury, award compensatory damages in the amount of $10 million. As against Amber Heard, we, the jury, award punitive damages in the amount of $5 million.
That little flash thing is bothering me.
All the elements of defamation. Answer, no. Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes. Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer,
well, I
no.
guess right now we
As
can
against
find
John
out
C.
if
Depp
she was
II,
mad or
we, the
sad.
jury, award compensatory damages in the amount of $2 million.
So answer her question,
John C.
Jim.
Depp II, we, the jury, award punitive damages in the amount of $0. Members of the jury, if this is your verdict, please answer yes. If this is not your verdict, please answer no. Juror number 6. Yes. Juror number 10.
Yes.
Juror number 15.
Yes.
Juror number 16.
Yes.
I just want to say real quick, that dress she's wearing is the one that she wore to file the TRO. And then she wore it for another significant event that had to do with this and said like, oh, there's always a like better time to like rewear an outfit or something like that. Like she made a post about rewearing the dress for like a statement. And then I guess she wore it again today for the verdict, that black dress. Forgot about that. I just wanted to add that in there.
Juror number 22. Yes. Juror number 27. Yes. Juror number 29.
Yes.
Okay, I do find that the jury's verdict is unanimous.
Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, the first thing we're going to hear from everyone is these are actors. Yes, they are actors, but they still have the same biological systems you do. Fight, flight, I'll abbreviate it as fight or flight, impacts them the same way it does. When we watch her here, we're going to see some of that happening. You see her blink rate increase. You see her cast her eyes down and to the right as she is drawing an emotion. What's interesting for me here is I also, if you watch that little necklace, you'll see some breathing happening, and it's a little erratic, like she's emotional. This emotion's believable, unlike what she's done for the past 2 weeks on the stand. This is more, I've watched more of her than I ever want to remember, and more of Johnny Depp than I ever want to remember, and I like him. So what I see here is her, throughout this trial, her choices of diction, what she says, pitch, tone, and cadence were not believable. Her social response, how she dealt with the attorneys, was difficult, and she showed two faces, one to the attorney and one to the jury, as she mugged for or cheesed for the jury. We also saw some outright avoidance and resistance to the question that brings up the interrogator in me and made me want to crawl all over her. And in these places, I saw her more emotional about disrespect. Go watch the videos. I saw more disrespect emotion than injury emotion, which made it hard for me to believe. And she swung for the fence when she talked about things he had done to her. That makes it hard to really believe her. And then when he was deceptive, his deception was mostly around things he had said or things he had written. That ties back to the disrespect thing. So when all things are said and equal, and you're looking at a he said, she said story, and somebody swung for the fence, it's a little tough when she's not believable. Scott, what do you got?
All right. Well, at the beginning, when they start reading the verdict, reading the damages and stuff, we see her eyes shift back and forth really quickly. She's, I think, getting a grip on what's happening. I'm not sure what's in front of her. I don't know if there's a sheet of paper, if there's something she's reading or what. But briefly, you can see her eyes go back and forth. Her breathing rate, like you were saying, Greg, it does go. It's kind of odd. At some points it speeds up, some points it slows down. And I agree that might show some true emotion because the hammer's falling on her right now, and that's going to be an emotional event for you if you're in a mess like this. The expression she has is pretty blank. A lot of people say, oh, it's a stoic expression, which I agree it is. At the same time, it's almost, I think I don't know who she's playing to at that point, but she just looks really, really, really sad, as she should. Her head goes down just for a second, and then it comes back up, I think, when she realizes she doesn't want to look like she's been defeated, and when she gets a grip on that. And then at the very end, her mouth pulls back almost into a grimace, these little parts back here. And I figured it would be when they read the part about how she gets nothing from him, how, she gets what is it, compensatory? How do you say that correctly? Damages, whatever it is. Yeah, is zero. Then you see her lips go back almost in a grimace, but I was expecting more of a lip purse there when they said, oh, we're going to see a lip purse, but we didn't, which would signal or indicate that she doesn't agree with what's happening or doesn't like it. But the grimace is just as much at that point. And her blink rate, when at the end of these things, they start reading the money part of it, quite often she'll do a double blink. Not a whole lot of blinking going on. And her rate is fairly steady throughout, and there's a space in between. She'll do a quick flutter, and then she'll do a one blink. There's a space, and a quick flutter and one blink. It's a little bit odd, but then again, that's an odd situation to be in. So I'm sure she's feeling a little bit out of place at that point. Chase, what do you got?
So Greg, you brought up that necklace kind of moving. There's two places we can really breathe from. If you're watching this, you can try it out right now. We can breathe from our chest up here, where you can see the chest rise and fall, or you can breathe through your abdomen, which I'm doing right now, and you can't really see that. So when we're more relaxed, we're more likely to breathe into our abdomens. And you see that throughout this trial, she's been using her abdomen to breathe, and you can see it. Finally, the stress is high enough to where she's doing chest breathing. You can see the breathing rate go up, and you see the location go upwards as well. So it's going from abdomen to chest. Another thing I think was interesting here, right when the jury's coming back into the courtroom, she adjusts her posture and starts adjusting her hair.
She wouldn't even look at them either.
Need to look at me differently, even though the verdict is done. But I think there's a camera moment. Like, this is the big moment that's going to be all over Fox and CNN and all that stuff. So that was priority one. And when we see this eye flutter, you'll see a couple of blinks there. That's kind of what the brain does when we have a lot of stuff opening up. So a bunch of apps are opening at once. So she's probably opening, what are the consequences of this? How is this going to work? What is this going to make me look like? What are the news repercussions of this? Maybe I can get a book deal out of this. All this like consequential stuff that she's thinking. And this is the brain trying to shut down those apps that are running in the background. They're competing for that person's attention or their time. And one other one there is, we don't see the emotion of a victim who has been victimized a second time in the courtroom. We see shame. We see a person who's kind of lamented and reserved into taking their licks, so to speak, as we might say in the South. But I'm not seeing if this was an innocent person who was forced into this and then lost a trial against this person, I would expect to see very, very different emotions. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, so we don't consult with each other beforehand, and it's interesting that we've all got the same idea. So I'm going to be very reiterative of what everybody said. Just like you said, they're Chase preening beforehand. So there's a sense of needing to look right as this comes in. But I don't think she knows at this point which way it's going to go for her. I don't think it's a surprise for any of us here. But, it's interesting that the Victorian actresses during melodrama would wear a necklace of some sort, often with a jewel, so the light would catch it and the audience could watch the breathing unconsciously and join in with that and experience these big emotions of melodrama. So it's great that she has that necklace because we can read her breathing almost exactly. So just like a melodramatic audience, breathe along with her and see what you get. At the start, I get a sense of excitement, okay, which is to be expected. The breathing is, as you say, Chase, high in the chest. Okay, there's going to be some adrenaline there, I would say, and there's a sense of excitement. First call comes in of a yes, and I think there's a breathing shift. It shifts up. It starts going faster. Next verdict comes in, and there's a second shift. It goes even further than that. And in my view, if it shifted again and she went faster, she would be close to hyperventilation at that point. But why don't you test it out? Just see what it's like to breathe along with that. What happens to how stable you feel, and think, well, if it's
she was freaking out.
So as verdicts come in after that, I think we see this, in that the breathing doesn't go up, but we start to see these little palpitations in the breathing. I reckon that's panic. Try it along to her. She's starting to move towards this panicked breathing, because my guess is if she's doing the calculations in her mind of now, how much is this going to cost? And I think we also see these erratic flutter movements in the eyes and that head fall, because at some point she is getting closer to that kind of give up collapse situation, but she pulls herself together on that and fronts it up. So high emotions during this, panic, and the brain just trying to work out how she's going to deal with this. That's what I've got on that one. Back to you, Scott.
I've got a quick one for Greg.
Yeah.
Greg, if you don't know this, Greg spent a long time teaching resistance to interrogation and all kinds of cool spy kind of stuff. But what did you make of the attorney vigorously writing down notes as if they're never going to get a copy of this? Oh, I need to just continue writing. What do you think that was?
Well, I'm not sure she's writing what is being said. I think she may be writing something for Amber. Don't worry. Who knows what she's writing? But if you notice, Amber's eyes dart over from her right to her left at least once. I think that's what it is. The other thing to remember is if she's feeling like, oh, now I'm in a bind. Mark, you talk about it all the time. Engage your brain, engage your brain, engage your brain. Doodle, doodle, doodle. The same thing we saw Johnny Depp doing. So I think it could be either or. Yeah, great catch. By the way, among those things, I think, Mark, that's brilliant with the breathing piece. And Chaser, something you mentioned. I was going to. Let's just leave it at that. Just keep moving instead of dragging it out.
Why not? Let's have it. What do you got?
There was something he mentioned up front that I was thinking was brilliant that you caught. Oh, the closing apps. Let me cover that. Where you talk about closing apps, that is the brain's natural response to, I need to look out for whatever the real threat is. And I think it's beautiful to call that out, that you're shutting down all these other things so your eyes can focus on the thing. I'd love to see your pupils. They're probably going.
So we've got 5 videos on this very subject, on what we're talking about. And we go through the trial, and you can see what happens and what we're talking about step by step with Johnny's body language and with Amber's body language. And you can compare what we're saying to what the trial was.
Chase must be on vacation because he's in
on how to look
a
at things
different
as you go
room
through
or in like
situations
a
like that,
hotel
through,
or something.
trials, through things at work, through arguments, and you can see what's happening with that. So anybody want to add anything else?
Yeah, I did one thing for somebody who was in court. They were really nervous. I had a sheet of paper in front of them, very similar to this situation here. And they were really nervous about what's going on. And on the sheet of paper, I just had a couple of words on there. It said, being comfortable will not put you in danger. Because that's what our brains default to. That's why our body gets ready to fight. And that's why our adrenaline pumps up. Just kind of helping to remind yourself that if you're ever feeling any kind of stress like this, just pushing your body into a comfortable position is not going to make you in more danger. But where our brains are programmed to think that way to keep us safe, doesn't work as well in the modern world.
Yeah. All right. Well, go check out our other videos and see what you think about that and see if you can learn a little something about what we've seen so far. All right. I think this is good, fellas, and we'll see you next time.
See you.
Oh, they don't really say that much. I was expecting a little more than that. I guess she was nervous and was hyperventilating. I got these glasses too. These ones don't make me look as Edna-ish. But they're a little dirty. That's why I wasn't wearing them. There we go. See, these ones will do the big round dip. I got like 87 pairs of glasses. You know where I get my glasses from? So I got my prescription and I put it, what's that? It's a website, Zenny. They're pretty cheap and you can like get like the blue light blocker on them. You can make them do the little shade thing. So I have glasses for every occasion. Yeah, it wasn't as informative as the other ones, but I mean, at least in the other ones, I think it was really like, they were adamant that she was lying. They were like, I will bet this on my career that she's being deceptive. Like, they were sure of it. So, do you want to keep talking about Johnny Depp, or do you want me to talk about some local cases that I found, that I dug up, that I thought were really cool? I don't know if anyone's in the mood for that. We've probably been... Oh, excellent. I mean, go in the, you can get, like special order ones there. You should go check it. Well, I don't know if you have it in Canada or not, but, like, they have different things you can get special ordered glasses from there. Look at Pair Eyewear. I'll check it out. Yeah, there's a couple of them, but I was like, it was actually pretty cool because I didn't know the prescription to my glasses. And I went on this website where you can hold your glasses up to your camera on your computer and they read your prescription through like I don't know how they do it, but it's like a miracle. But they read your prescription and then they tell you what your prescription is. So I didn't have to go through all the trouble because I just hate going to doctor's appointments unless I have to. I have to go to the dentist tomorrow, actually, and I'm freaking out because the dentist just scares the life out of me. I don't know, sharp tools in my mouth. They just freak me out. But, you can change the look of your glasses every day. Yeah, I got so many pairs of glasses. Like, I'll have to change them up so you guys can see them all. Yeah, it can read your prescription from the computer. I don't know how they do it, but like you hold like all right, how you hold like a debit card up, right? And then you hold it up to like, you wear them and you hold it up to your face. So I guess it does a thing where it measures your pupils. So you have to have like a certain space between your pupils. And then it measures the prescription. I don't know how they did it, but I was kind of worried. I'm like, no way, this works. And then I got the glasses and I could see perfect. So I guess it worked. I don't know. I don't remember what my prescription is. I just had my glasses, so I just held them up. Oh, so like, okay, so pair eyewear, you just pop magnets off? See, I like trying out different shapes. Like a lot of the shapes don't look good on me, but I still like to try them out. I love when people have ones like these, but they're bigger. That's what I was going for. Like, I wanted a pair that had, so if you can see how they're bigger down here, like the length of them, but I didn't want round, but the biggest pair I could find, like lengthwise, or like, I guess lengthwise would be considered, was these ones. But I think the square looked better to me, but they didn't have wide square. You like the round ones? Well, I'll continue wearing my round ones because I was rocking these from the beginning. But yeah, I like them too. I just, it was funny because like as soon as I put them on, I was like, wow, I look like somebody. I'm trying to figure out who it is. And then I went to Dave and I'm like, I look like that chick from, and he was like, The Incredibles. I was like, yeah. Like he knew it right away too. I was like, damn, I definitely look like her then. The hell. All right, well, I'm gonna talk about those cases because I'm like super interested in them and I thought they were really cool. So this first one, it's kind of funny because so I grew up in this area in Philadelphia, like Manioc, Roxborough area. And if you live from that area, everyone's parents tells the story of like Hookman, this, Hookman guy who had a hook and he got picked up this girl after she went to the movies, and or there was a couple different stories. One was after the movies and another one was after prom night, and he like strung her up in a tree. I guess he like stopped the car and got them out of the car and strung her up in a tree, and the boyfriend was like knocked out and he woke up and he could hear some scratching on the top of the car, and it was like her class ring scraping on the top of the car, and she was like hanging from a tree. Well, my uncle used to bring me down this road called Hart's Lane, and he would park on the road and try and freak me out by being like, this is where Hookman was, So it was like everyone knew that road was like Hookman Road, but it was actually called Hart's Lane. So here, I didn't realize that there's actually, I mean, it's not exactly how it was told. I mean, it's been exaggerated for theatrics, but there's actually a case that originated from. So I thought this was pretty cool. It's an old case, but it's very interesting. Let me pull up a new tab so I can go to my favorites. Mary Mitchell. Okay. Trying to find. All right. Let me share my screen so you guys can see it. I just thought this was like so cool though. So I'm gonna murder of Marianne. So there's actually a book about this. My friend's mom, well, she's not really my friend, but somebody like I grew up with. Her mom wrote the book Murdered Innocent, the Marianne Mitchell story. I believe she actually knew the girl. So trying to find. Okay. trying to find. So he was, I believe he was the last guy who was killed in PA by the electric chair too. So I'm trying to find like a good summary of it. I guess I'll just do Wikipedia. Okay. Wait, there is no Wikipedia. All right, we'll do this one. All right, so I live right now. I'm probably doxing myself, but I like to explain the story. So I live in a town called Bridgeport, PA, which is right outside the city, right outside of Philadelphia. And I grew up in Roxborough, Manayunk area, which is in Philadelphia, but it's kind of like the suburb. Like it's considered in the city, but it's like the outer area of the city, which is kind of like suburbish, I guess. So, on January 7th, 1960, a man named Elmo Smith of Bridgeport, so the town where I live in now, was charged with the murder and rape of a 16-year-old girl, Marianne Teresa Mitchell, of the Manayunk section of Philadelphia. She was an 11th grader at Cecilian Academy. She disappeared on December 28th, 1959. She was returning home after going to the movies with a friend. On December 30th, her body was found in a muddy gully. Smith was the last person to be executed in Pennsylvania by the electric chair. He was executed on April 2nd, 1962, after being found guilty of rape and the murder of Mitchell. So, he was on parole. How it went down was he went to this lady's house. Yeah, it's a way back case, but it was kind of like the basis for this like Hookman story that everyone told growing up. And like I had no idea that this Hookman story, I mean the guy doesn't have a hook at all, but the reason why that road was called Hookman Road is because this is where he dumped their body and everyone tried to make a big scary story out of it. But so this guy, he was a handyman and he lived in Bridgeport. And he went into Norristown and robbed this woman. I don't know if he beat her up, I forget, but he stole her car, and it was like a two-toned, car, like a two-toned Chevy or something, I don't know. And he drove into Roxborough, and he was driving past a bus stop where this girl was waiting for a bus, and he abducted her and like beat her with a tire iron, like literally split her head open and raped her. And then he drove on the street, Hart's Lane. I should keep saying that word on YouTube. I'm gonna have to spell it out next time. I keep saying it and not thinking about it. And he dumped her body, and apparently she was like still alive when he dumped her and was begging him to take her home, and he didn't and left her there down on this road. He said that he spotted Marianne alone on a street corner as he drove a stolen car. He told police he snatched the girl, attacked her, crushed her skull with 5 blows, and then dumped her body an hour later, still alive and begging to be taken home, into the ravine. One psychiatric exam at the same time revealed Smith showed sexual tendencies which led to caveman tactics. He was scheduled to trial on the charges August 22nd in Gettysburg. I wonder where they had it, Gettysburg. Oh, he'd been granted a change of venue because of pretrial publicity. Yeah, it was like huge back then, like that. It was, yeah, it is horrific. He didn't have a hook or anything, but that's where the Hookman story came from. And then her friend actually wrote a book about it. Donna Persico, her name is. On the first day of the trial, August 25th, 1960, the Associated Press reported that Montgomery County District Attorney Vincent Cirillo said Smith struck the girl over the head with a bumper jack and dragged her into a stolen car as she waited on a foggy, rain-drenched street corner for a bus. He threw her clothes from the car as he drove her to a lonely spot, parked the car, R-A-P-E-D, her, and viciously beat her again over the head several times and dumped her body down an embankment. Sorry, he marked her body with lipstick, putting on it the symbols TB and 101. I have no idea what that means, but we will show that after Elmo Smith dumped her body there, he drove home to Bridgeport, where he discarded her underwear. On, sorry, I need a drink. Where was I? Tears streamed down the cheeks of 39. Oh, so as they charged him, tears streamed down his cheeks of 39-year-old Bridgeport handyman after the verdict. So apparently, he stole a watch. The Wineville Chicken Coop murder. Speaking of old school cases, that one makes me sick. No, I haven't heard of it, but I will definitely look into that. So he stole a watch from this lady, and I think he got caught because he re-gifted the watch or something like that to somebody on Christmas, because it was right around Christmas. Yeah, old cases kind of freak me out too. I don't know, they just give me a creepy vibe sometimes. Smith was sentenced to death. The state asked for the death penalty to make an example of Elmo Smith to deter all others who would commit rape and murder. I keep saying it. Multiple appeals by Smith were rejected. And in February, the governor of Pennsylvania ordered Smith to be executed the week of April 2nd. The Associated Press reported that Smith had asked the State Board of Pardons to commute the death sentence, saying the state was partly to blame. One of Smith's lawyers said that the state knew that Smith was a sexual psychopath with caveman-like tendencies. So he had been to jail before. I don't know what he was in jail for, because he was on parole. But I'm guessing maybe it was a sexual crime, and that's how they knew that he was, a psychopath. So I guess they were blaming him for it. Let me see. I'm just seeing if there's anything. Yeah, so it was dismantled and put into storage in 1971, just before the death penalty was ruled unconstitutional in 1972. It was reassembled in 1985. In 1990, it was replaced with death by lethal injection. The electric chair named Old Smoky is in storage at the State Museum. The last execution in the state of Pennsylvania was July 6, 1999, when Gary Heidnik was put to death by lethal injection. I actually looked into that, but I mean, that was in Philadelphia. It wasn't really close to where I lived. Hi, LFT Decipher. Thanks for coming in and say hi. Hi. Thank you for coming. The state knew. Well, I guess they knew that he was he I guess he committed a sexual crime, and then he was released on parole. And then, hold on, let me get my book. So, I think I might have just saved the article. And we could look at the newspaper article from back then too. Oh, wait, before I move on, the same guy, Elmo, they actually ended up connecting him to another crime that happened nearby of this little girl, a little baby. This girl, Carol Ann Thompson. Shoot. So her and her, let me see. I get so confused with newspapers because they the way they set up the stories, this one continues here. And then, is this? I don't know what one goes to this one. I guess this. It was. Okay. Here we go. He's guilty. Elmo Smith's guilty plea in the REPE murder of Marianne Mitchell climaxes his most vicious of most recent sex crimes, but today Smith finds himself a central figure of another RAPE murder investigation, a case that parallels the vicious treatment of Marianne. Ever since 1947, Elma Smith has been the prime suspect in the RAPING of a 5-year-old Carol Ann Thompson. Carol Ann was a Montgomery County carpenter's daughter and was killed with a shovel. The experiences of little Carol Ann and teenage Marianne with a RAPIST were startling similar. Elma Smith, in his confession, preceded his guilty plea yesterday, said that he killed Marianne with a bumper jack from the car in which she had been taken prisoner. District Attorney Bernard D. Joseph of Montgomery County has not revealed whether Smith admitted he raped Marianne, but he didn't have to admit it. The evidence is there. Autopsy physicians stated after laboratory tests that Marianne was RAPED. And Philadelphia detectives under Captain Clarence J. Ferguson discovered a pair of Smith's blood-stained twill trousers in Smith's home on 6th Street in Bridgeport, which is very close to where I live. Actually, that's like a street over from where Dave used to live when we met. These trousers were splotched with seminal fluid in the fly area, so the pattern was RAPE followed by murder. And with Carol Ann, it was the same. William Thompson, the father of Carol Ann, formally has requested the state police to reopen the investigation of his daughter's death. Thompson, now living at 4138 Glendale Street in Juniata Park, realizes that Smith's chances of ever being free again are slim indeed. His motive is not accumulated punishment, for a man can't serve 2 life sentences or die twice in the electric chair. I want the case closed properly, said Thompson. I have talked with high-ranking police officers in Philadelphia and in Montgomery County, and I've gone over the case with state police. All of them agree, as they've told me, they believe Smith is the man who murdered my daughter. So I don't know if they talk about it, but the little girl was walking with her brother, and her brother went to go do something and left her alone for a minute, and the guy lured her into the woods or something with candy, and then RAPED'd her, killed her with a shovel, and dropped her body in a well. And then her brother went to the well because he kept fish food in the well for these fish that he had on his property, and he went to go get the fish food and found his sister in there, and then ran and told his dad. Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry, I had to blow my nose real quick. All right. Anyway, where were we at? So yeah, that's Elma Smith, and then I have another one. Let me find. I have a couple actually. Okay, hold on. I forget how to spell this guy's last name, but John Eckinger. There we go. All right, so this is another one from where I live. Yeah, the brother found his sister, and he also pointed out Smith in a lineup and said that's the guy who he saw him somehow. Old newspapers, that was so interesting. It'll say continue on page 10 or whatever. When was the last time you bought an actual newspaper? Yeah, I haven't bought a newspaper in so long, but the old newspapers, the way they do the articles are so confusing. They'll have one article continue on, but then another one right next to it, so I'll never know if it continues up or I just have such a hard time deciphering where the rest of the article goes. All right, so this guy, John Eckinger. All right, so I live in Upper Marion Township. And this happened in 1995 and 2005. He killed a couple people. So he lived in Malvern. I think he was like living in Jersey at the time. I'm not sure, but he was from Malvern. He attended Upper Marion High School in King of Prussia, where he was part of a large group of friends who would play Dungeons and Dragons in their spare time. Through this activity, he became acquainted with Jennifer Still and Heather Greaves, developing a romantic interest in both women. After graduation, he found work as a clerk at a local Acme supermarket where he worked alongside Greaves. In his spare time, he was noted for playing in local chess tournaments. On July 6, 1999, Eckinger, donning a pair of rubber gloves and carrying a large knife under his jacket, went to Still's home in Bridgeport in order to confess his feelings towards her. By the way, I've never heard of these. I had no idea these even happened in this town. I was shocked. To his dismay, she rejected his advances, stating that she would not leave her fiancé. Enraged by her rejection, Eckinger pulled out the knife and repeatedly stabbed her, ultimately cutting her throat before leaving the house. In the subsequent investigations, police questioned Still's boyfriend and friends, including Eckinger, who claimed that he had been in New Jersey at the time of the murders. In an attempt to ward off police office trail, he claimed that 2 other Dungeons & Dragons players might have information on the murder, with one of them being heavily involved in Wicca. As the investigators had no evidence to connect him with the murder at the time, they focused on the players mentioned by Eckinger until a DNA swab proved that they were innocent. So, he told the cops that this girl who was into Wicca was dating Stills, and they were in love and they were going to get married, and they started looking into this girl, but he had actually done it. After the murder, Eckinger stored the bloody knife, clothing, and rubber gloves he had on the day of the murder in his room as a keepsake to remind him of the killing. For the next 5 years, when Halloween came about, he would take out the knife and don a mask of Ghostface from the horror franchise Scream, and would go out trick-or-treating with them. Around 2003, he moved to his parents' new home in Somersport, New Jersey, where he transferred to work at a local Acme supermarket. Okay, so at the time when he killed Jennifer, he was still in the area, and then he moved to Jersey. And then on March 25th, 2005, this is also in King of Prussia, near where I'm from. It's like Bridgeport and King of Prussia right next to each other. Bridgeport's they're both in Upper Marion, put it that way. They're both in Upper Marion Township. So on May 25th, 2005, Greaves ordered some purple flowers for her upcoming birthday and arranged for Eckinger to deliver them to her home in King of Prussia. Bringing the knife with him, Eckinger went to the house and confessed his feelings for Greaves. After being rejected again, he pulled out the knife and started stabbing her, before finishing her off by slitting her throat. The act was noticed by Greaves' 21-year-old sister Lisa and 3-year-old daughter Avery, who were at the house at the time. Unwilling to leave any witnesses, Eckinger went to the bathroom and stabbed Lisa to death before catching up to Avery in the hallway and killing her as well. A 3-year-old. Disgusting. Avery, who was in the house killing 3-year-old daughter Avery, who's in... Oh, sorry. I'm rereading. Avery, before catching up to Avery in the hallway and killing her as well. He then started walking back to his car, where a neighbor of Greaves observed him with bloody clothes and a rag tied around his hand. The victim's body were discovered by the Greaves' father when he returned home. Yeah, I know, so sick. And so on the Oxygen, the network Oxygen, they did a special on this, and they interviewed the cop who investigated it, and he said it was one of the most horrific crime scenes that he's ever seen, and he was horrified by it. And then their dad came home and found them all. As the killings heavily resembled Still's murder from years prior, authorities started looking into whether the 4 victims had any connections. After learning that Still and Greaves had been mutual friends with each other and with Eckinger, Detective Richard Nielsen was dispatched to interrogate him at his workplace in Summers Point. Initially, Eckinger denied responsibility, claiming that the scratches on his arm were a result of a dog bite and a cut sustained while he was taking out the trash, and that he had been at the boardwalk in Ocean City when the killings took place. However, when he noticed that Nielsen was carrying a gun on him, Eckinger decided to confess to the 4 killings, bizarrely stating that he followed company policy to never resist a man with a gun. Not long after, Eckinger waived his right to an extradition hearing and was extradited to Pennsylvania, where he was charged with 4 counts of capital murder. He confessed to the 4 murders before the judge, arguing that he should be given a life sentence in light of mitigating evidence presented by his lawyers. These included claims that he suffered from schizoid personality disorder, a personality disorder characterized by a lack of interest in social relationships, a tendency toward solitary or sheltered lifestyle, secretiveness, and emotional coldness, detachment, and apathy. Affected individuals may be unable to form intimate relationships. And that he was under extreme emotional duress when he committed the crimes relating to the recent death of his father from Alzheimer's disease. These claims were contested by the prosecutors, who pointed out that the defendant had no prior history of mental illness, had planned his crimes in advance, and the murders of Lisa and Avery were done to get rid of witnesses. In the end, he was found guilty on all counts and was given 3 death sentences for the murders of the Greaves family. He was given a life term for Still's murder. At the sentencing phase, the victim's family member exclaimed they hoped they would live long enough to see Eckinger executed for the murders. Since his incarceration, he has attempted to appeal his sentence on multiple occasions, but each time his appeals have been denied. In 2008, Eckinger's death warrant was signed by Governor Ed Rendell, but the sentence is yet to be carried out. So his crimes were covered on 2 separate crime documentary series, both aired on the ID channel. One, Homicide City, titled Deadly Circle of Friends, and In Ice Cold Blood, as an episode titled Dungeons, Dragons, and Death. So if you guys want to watch them on those specific shows and those specific episodes, you can find it. I can see if there's like a little clip of I had no idea that this was like a high profile case. I guess we could try this. Hold on.
On July 6th of 1990.
How long is it? Alright, I'm gonna speed it up. We'll play it real quick. Yeah, he confessed because of the gun. How weird was that? Like, I thought that was really odd. Let me see if this is too fast. Hopefully they don't strike me, but we'll try.
9. A call was made to the Bridgeport Police Department in Pennsylvania.
Yep,
Kevin
that's the
had come
police
home from work
department.
to find his 20-year-old girlfriend Jennifer stabbed to death on the bedroom floor. The brutality of the scene reflected a crime of passion.
Is this too fast, guys, or can you hear it? Or, like, can you understand it? Because I can turn it down one if it's too fast. Let me know.
And despite investigating Jennifer's closest circle, no leads were found, and the case eventually went cold. 6 years later, a triple homicide only a few minutes away from Jennifer's house shook the neighbors once again. Sisters Heather and Lisa Greaves, as well as Heather's 3-year-old daughter, had been stabbed and slashed just like Jennifer. This time, the investigation led to the arrest of a man, John Eckinger, who confessed to both the triple homicide and the murder of Jennifer 6 years earlier. All the victims were killed by the same knife, and not only did he get away with Jennifer's murder, but the knife he used on her in 1999 became a Halloween prop he used for this costume for several years. The same knife he would use in 2005 to take 3 more lives. This is the story of John Eckinger and the women he brutally murdered. Jennifer Louise Still was born on July 4, 1979 in Bridgeport, Pennsylvania. Her childhood wasn't easy. She had been born with a cleft lip and palate and suffered from scoliosis growing up. Although her treatments were successful and helped her overcome her conditions, Jennifer suffered from bullying during her school years. In 1999, Jennifer was bright and independent. She loved musicals and wanted to become a poet. The 20-year-old was living with her boyfriend, Kevin, who worked at a local car wash. That's where he was going when he kissed Jennifer goodbye on July 6th. That would be the last time he would see her. When he got back from work, he found Jennifer on the bedroom floor, dead and surrounded by blood. When the detectives arrived at the scene, they came face to face with a crime scene so brutal it could only have been done by what they described as uncontrollable anger and rage. There was no sign of forced entry, and the level of brutality suggested Jennifer knew her killer. Several traces of blood were found and collected from the bathroom sink, too far away from the body to be Jennifer's. Since stabbing someone is not an easy thing to do, the aggressors usually end up cutting themselves in the process, so the police hope this spot of blood would potentially lead them to the killer. The investigation of Jennifer's closest circle began. Kevin was cleared out almost immediately. He had been at work all day and had no signs of being cut. So investigators focused on Jennifer's friends, particularly the group the couple played Dungeons & Dragons with. Jennifer and Kevin usually played with friends Heather Greaves and John Eckinger. Both friends talked to the police. Heather was cleared immediately, and John stated he had been in New Jersey the day of the murder. He did, however, mention two other friends he played with who were very involved in the D&D game and culture, Danny and Destiny. As investigators dug deeper, they found out Destiny had been in love with Jennifer and was convinced she was possessed by demons. This friend even confessed to having had a dream where she stabbed Jennifer. Now, while Dungeons & Dragons has become wildly popular in the past few years thanks to the references in TV shows, D&D content creators, and the comeback of all things 80s, the truth is, it wasn't always that way. In the 80s, there was an actual moral panic surrounding the role-playing game, questioning its links to witchcraft and sorcery, and how people who played it were meddling with the unknown.
He has been studying the game for several years and says there are 28 deaths related to Dungeons & Dragons in the last 5 years.
In some of those, it was clearly the decisive element. In other ones, it was just a major element in the thinking of the people at the time they committed suicide or murder.
The problem seems to be that some kids take it more seriously than others, take it a step further, playing a character who brings them the power in a game they couldn't possibly get in real life.
We're so screwed if it's the Demogorgon.
It's not the Demogorgon.
Demogorgon! We're deep shit.
As a D&D player myself, I find these claims ridiculous, and thankfully, after all these years, most people do as well. But in 1999, when Jennifer was 20 years old, there was still a fascination with the idea that D&D was turning players into demonic killers. So when the information came out that Jennifer played Dungeons & Dragons and had friends who talked about her being possessed, the media focused on the idea that this murder had been in some way connected to the in-game universe the group had created. However, when asked to give a DNA sample, both Danny and Destiny agreed. Their DNA was not a match to the sample collected in the bathroom. So with no matches, no potential suspects, and no more leads, Jennifer Still's case became colder and colder. Until 2005.
It's kind of weird that they didn't
On
just
March
check
25th,
his
2005,
DNA. Like,
George Greaves found something horrific when he returned home.
they should have
His
checked
two
him
daughters and
too.
granddaughter lay lifeless on the floor. There was blood everywhere. The victims were 23-year-old Lisa Greaves, 27-year-old Heather Greaves, and 3-year-old Avery, Heather's daughter. The murder had taken place just a few minutes away from Jennifer Still's murder, and the resemblance was obvious. The victims were stabbed, their throats were slit, and there was a lot of rage behind the attacks, suggesting a crime of passion. In fact, one of the investigators remembered Heather being questioned during the investigation in 1999, as she had been friends with Jennifer. Although there wasn't much evidence, there was an eyewitness. A neighbor had seen a man walking out of the Greaves home at the time the murders would have taken place. It seemed that he was bleeding. This was a tight community, so neighbors knew each other. It wasn't hard to identify the man. It was Heather's longtime friend, John Eckinger. Born on February 18th, 1972, John Eckinger had also grown up in the area. He was friends with Heather and Jennifer since they were in their teens, and John had even worked with Heather at a local market for a brief time. When Jennifer was found dead, John had told the police he was out of town. After Heather, Lisa, and little Avery's murder, he had a similar story to tell. After being identified by a neighbor, the police went to talk to John, who insisted he was out of town when the murders took place. John was wearing a bandage around his hand, and he told investigators his dog had bitten him. However, investigators didn't believe him and continued to accuse him of the triple homicide. After making him believe they had DNA evidence which could incriminate him, John cracked and confessed. He had killed Heather, Lisa, and Avery. John was in love with Heather and had been for a while. However, Heather wasn't in love with John and had rejected him several times. She was happy with her boyfriend and had no intention of ending things with him. So on March 25th, John called Heather and asked to go over to her house and talk. Heather's birthday was coming up, so she thought he might be coming over with some flowers or a present. However, when John arrived, they got into an argument. Heather had rejected John once again, and he wasn't having it. The argument ended when John pulled out the knife he had taken with him and stabbed Heather in the stomach. Heather's 3-year-old daughter Avery had seen it all happen, and as she ran for help, John slashed her neck. Lisa, Heather's sister, had been in another room, and as she came out and saw everything, John stabbed her too. When confessing to the police, John Eckinger spoke naturally about the way he had done things. For instance, he explained how he knew he had to stab in the stomach instead of the chest, as it's easier to reach and puncture organs this way. Or how he had to kill Avery and Lisa to prevent them from identifying him after what he'd done. But the real moment of truth began when John confessed it wasn't the first time he'd used that knife. While confessing to the triple homicide, John also confirmed he had been the one to end Jennifer Still's life in 1999. Just like with Heather, John had been in love with Jennifer. After being rejected by her several times, he had gone to her house to try and convince her to leave her boyfriend. Jennifer didn't want to be with John, and she was even planning on marrying her boyfriend. Even though John was being so persistent, they were friends, so Jennifer reached over to touch his shoulder and comfort him. But John already had a knife in his hand, and he angrily stabbed her in the stomach before slitting her throat. Police tested the DNA sample found at the scene against John's DNA, and it was a match. They had their killer. But the most unsettling piece of information was yet to come. John confessed that after killing Jennifer, he had kept the clothes he wore that day, as well as a knife which he stored in a cooler, along with some rubber gloves. Every Halloween, he would put on a Scream mask, the gloves and the knife he had killed his friend with, and would hand out candy at the door. During his trial, John showed no remorse. Even though the question of his mental health was brought to attention and could potentially be a mitigating factor, the weight of the aggravating factors was greater, and John Eckinger was sentenced to life for the murder of Jennifer Still and sentenced to death for the murders of Heather, Lisa, and Avery. All through the trials, he didn't speak with the families of the victims. When
Giving
he
out candy to
and he showed
kids
no
with like a
reaction when
murder
families
weapon in
confronted
his
him in
hand. What a
courtroom.
weirdo.
While in jail, John even published some of his journal entries, where he described in graphic detail how he committed the murders. During the next years, John filed several appeals to try and overturn his sentence, arguing he suffered from brain damage.
I'm just going to stop it there because we're talking about... Alright, and then I have two more that are really crazy. So, I'm going to save the best one for last. But alright, so the next one, I'm going to leave that there so I remember the YouTube. Alright, so I live in Upper Marion Township, and the public school in Upper Marion is Upper Marion High School. Well, I think it was like in the 70s. There's a teacher named Susan Reinhart. This was really big media case. So people might remember it, but it is very interesting. So Reinhardt was a 36-year-old teacher. She was due to give a speech at Parents Without Partners in Allentown, 50 miles north of her home in Ardmore, PA. She left that morning with her two children, Karen, 11, and Michael, 10, likely in hopes of turning the trip up north into a weekend away for the family. According to a neighbor who saw them leave, they were all dressed casually and they were never seen again. Susan Reinhardt was found nude, badly beaten, chained, and stuffed into the trunk of her own car on June 25th, 1979. A man found her when he was cutting through the parking lot in Harrisburg, nearly 90 miles away from Allentown and nearly 100 miles from her home. He saw her car, an orange Plymouth Horizon hatchback, which he thought looked abandoned. The back was open and he looked inside, where he discovered her remains. Her children were nowhere to be found and haven't been found to this day. I just added that part in because they knew that, but they haven't been found. But 6 years late, on June 25th, Jay Smith was arrested and charged with her death. He was convicted and sentenced to 3 death sentences. Jay Smith was the principal at the school. Suzanne was a teacher at and dubbed the Prince of Darkness by her colleagues after her disappearance. Rumors began to circulate, including insinuations that there were swinger parties happening between the faculty of the school, devil worship, and that Smith had burned the bodies of Reinhardts in the school's incinerator. Later, Reinhardt's fiancé, William Bradfield, was convicted of conspiracy to commit 3 murders, even though the bodies of her children had not been recovered. Not only were the bodies of the Reinhardt children not recovered, but Smith's daughter and son-in-law, Stephanie and Edward Hunsberger, had gone missing a year prior to his arrest. Both may have been heroin addicts. There were many rumors going around about their disappearance. People were saying they thought Smith had killed them and the children, while others thought the Hunsbergers were hiding and raising the Reinhardt children. As of 2011, both Hunsbergers and the Reinhardt children remained missing and are likely dead. William Bradfield and Jay Smith have both since passed, taking with them to the grave the information on where the Hunsbergers and the Reinhardt children could be found. After getting divorced from her first husband, Ken, Reinhardt began dating William Bradfield, a fellow English teacher at Upper Marion High School. So she was a teacher. She started dating the English teacher. From the beginning of the relationship, Bradfield vocally denied there was one to other teachers at the school, and the woman he was living with at the time, Suzanne Myers, who was also a teacher at the school. It was well known that Bradfield had other lovers. Reinhardt's infatuation with Bradfield eventually got to the point that she changed the beneficiary of her life insurance from her brother and children to Bradfield, whom she referred to as her intended husband on the forms. From the beginning of the investigation, police suspected that this change may have been motive. I don't know why anyone would do that. Like, why would you change it before you're even married? I just never understood that. Like, why anybody would change. Why anyone would change that. Anyway. On the weekend that the Reinhardts disappeared, Bradfield was in Cape May, New Jersey with several other male and female friends. It was supposedly known that Bradfield, as well as other members of the school faculty, were involved in swinging sex parties. It's worth noting that during the autopsy, it was found that Reinhardt had sand between her toes. So, I don't understand people on a daily basis either. So yeah, during her autopsy, they found sand between her toes, which I find kind of weird though, because he was in Cape May, so what did he do? Go drive to where she was doing a speech, kill her, drive back to Cape May, and then drop her back off there? I don't know. It's a little confusing, but while Bradfield couldn't be charged for the murders for years, he was arrested and charged with theft by deception. Before Reinhardt's death, Bradfield convinced her to withdraw $25,000 from her bank account that he could invest. The investment, however, was fake, and Bradfield was arrested. While he was in jail waiting trial for his theft, he filed suit for the insurance money from her death in an extremely bold move, which is really fucking stupid too. Why? If you got caught making a fake investment and then you were arrested and you're in jail awaiting trial for this theft, and then you file suit for insurance money? I mean, I guess what do you have to lose if you need money for lawyers or something? I don't know. But that's very bold. He was set to go to trial in 72 hours. Arrested in connection with the theft was another one of Bradfield's lovers, Wendy Ziegler. According to police, Ziegler hid the money in a safe deposit box and took it out the day of Reinhardt's disappearance. So, okay. While she was arrested, police were apparently more interested in scaring her into cooperating on their case against Bradfield than actually charging her. She ended up being one of the witnesses who testified against him in 1981, where he was sentenced to 2 years in prison. Smith, all right, so that was Bradfield. Now, Jay Smith had previous issues with the police before Reinhardt's disappearance. And mind you, Jay Smith, he was the principal of Upper Marion High School. Yeah, he's still awake, man. I don't know what he's doing though. I think he's on the couch watching his phone. Smith had previous issues with the police. So Jay Smith was the principal of Upper Marion High School. Smith had previous issues with the police before Reinhardt's disappearance. In 1978, Smith was arrested at a shopping center after being called due to suspicious activity. Police found loaded handguns, a syringe filled with morphine, a hooded mask, and several other items described as burglar's tools in his car. It's worth noting at this point that the official cause of death for Susan Reinhardt was a lethal dose of morphine. So, well, and I guess they beat her to death too. But Smith claimed he needed the guns to scare off people harassing him, and the syringe must have belonged to his son-in-law, whom he said was a drug addict. Police searched Smith's home, revealing more drugs and guns, as well as uniforms for security guards, badges, and pornography that largely dealt with bestiality. Along with drugs, this is scary that this guy was a principal for a high school. Like, what the hell? All right, Hova, pick one. Along with drugs and guns, police also found 4 gallons of nitric acid and office supplies reportedly stolen from the school. As the investigation continued, police linked Smith to 2 armed robberies at Sears stores. Bradfield was one of the witnesses at his trial in 1979, providing an alibi for Smith, but was apparently not convincing enough. Smith was found guilty but let out on bail while appealing the conviction. On April 6, 1983, Bradfield was arrested and charged with the murders of Susan Reinhart and her children, Karen and Michael. During the trial, there was testimony about the charges to Reinhardt's will and life insurance, and testimony claiming that Bradfield had been telling friends that he was concerned Smith was going to hurt Reinhardt, but never told Reinhardt herself or police about his concerns. Smith was not yet on trial for the murders at this point, but much of the testimony presented by the state connected Smith to Reinhardt. Among other things, there was a hair from Reinhardt that matched one found at Smith's house, and a comb from the Air Force unit Smith belonged to found under Reinhardt's body. It is worth noting, however, that it was found that there had been an event where the combs had been given out. A very small amount of evidence actually linked Bradfield to the murder. Instead, investigators were attempting to connect Bradfield to Smith to try to prove that the two had conspired together to kill Reinhardt. Bradfield was found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder in October 1983 and sentenced to 3 life sentences. In March 1992, new evidence in the case was found in a box kept in the attic of the lead investigator that could possibly have cleared Smith of the murders. One of the Smithers' lawyers filed to have the evidence put into the care of a court-appointed custodian and requested that the judge order the prosecution to explain why the evidence was never handed over to them during the initial trial. The evidence from the 1986 trial was sealed in boxes and left in the Attorney General's office. According to the Chief Deputy Attorney General, the sealed boxes would be opened once the new box and evidence inside was turned in. Smith's attorney argued that the second trial, the murders constituted double jeopardy, and strengthened the argument using evidence found in the box. Among the pieces of evidence in the box was a comb identical to the one used as evidence in the original trial. However, according to the attorney, this comb found in the box is not the comb originally presented at trial. The comb found in the box was not tagged as trial exhibit, while the one used in the trial was. According to Smith's attorney, and the comb used in the original trial should have been sealed away with the rest of the evidence in the Attorney General's office. I'm so confused after reading that. Did anyone understand that? The comb identical to one used. So were they saying because they found a comb identical to the one they used that he had combs like that? I'm confused. Smith's attorney also argued that the officers may have been paid off by as much as $50,000 before any arrests were made for information by Joseph Wambaugh, author of Echoes in Darkness, a best-selling book about this case. Yeah, so somebody wrote, this is actually a really popular book, Echoes in Darkness, if anyone wants to read about the case, but it gets like really deep into it because they believe that, pretty much in a nutshell, they believe that they were all good friends and that these two conspired together to kill her and split the money that she for the what do you call it? Insurance policy. The box also contained notebooks numbered through 23, with the exception of 13, which seemed to be missing. Smith's attorney theorized that the missing notebook was from a time when the officer was dealing with a jailhouse informant who claimed that Smith had told him that he committed the murders of the Reinhardts. Smith's attorney alleged that in another notebook, the officer noted that the informant said Smith told he did not commit the murder, and has been suspicious that there may have been a deal with the informant. Smith was released after being on death row for 6 years when the Pennsylvania Supreme Court found the prosecution was guilty of misconduct, including hiding evidence and making deals. Sounds like another trial, I know. I mean, see, I think that's huge to point out that this happens a lot, where prosecutions hide evidence and they make deals because they just want to close cases. Smith died a free man in 2009 after spending the rest of his life trying to clear his name. So, he claims that he didn't do it and that, I guess it was William Bradfield, but this little piece of hair is annoying me. Hey, just Larry. How you doing? In 1998, Bradfield died of heart failure, and a photograph that was likely developed in 1986 was found. The photograph shows a small statue of a hooded figure, possibly in a wooded area. Police believe this photograph may hold the key to finding the remains of Karen and Michael Reinhart. Searches have been conducted, yet there have been no remains found as of yet. Police continue to take tips as to where the statue may be. If the statue could be found, it would hopefully lead to the recovery of the children's remains. Oh, I wish they had a picture of that. Along with the photograph, which was found among several boxes, police also found letters that appeared to be written in code. Some theorize that somewhere out in the world, another person involved in the murders exists and could tell them where the Reinhardt children are. Thanks, Larry. While the murder of Susan Reinhardt may be solved, there are still questions haunting people today. Where are children? Was Jay Smith truly innocent, or was he actually involved? What is that photograph found in Bradfield's belongings? Where was it taken? And perhaps someday we will have answer to these questions, but now they remain unanswered. I'm going to see if I can find that photograph, because that would... Oh, wait, is this it? Oh, that's the statue? Little stone marker. Can you guys see it? Let me see if I can... I thought it was like some big statue. It's like this little itty bitty stone marker. Yeah, so Jay Smith, he was actually the... Oh yeah, it's a really... I mean, it's much deeper than, everything I just read. Like, there's so much that happened with that case. I'll have to do a deep dive on it one day, but he was the principal of the high school, and he was, I just can't imagine a guy like that being principal of a high school. Like, morphine syringes and like burglary stuff. And I have one more case that is local to me that I really want to talk about. It's not like really close to me, but this gained a lot of attention in the media a couple of years ago. So you guys actually might have heard about it. But all right, so this guy, Cosmo, where's his name? Cosmo DiNardo. This is what happened in 2017. There's this kid, Cosmo DiNardo. They were 20 years old, and they lived in Bucks County, PA, which is like a half hour for me, I would say. My dad lives in Bucks County, so I'm just doxing everyone in my family, but no kidding. But so he was a drug dealer. His parents owned I forget what kind of company they had, but I think a construction company or like a concrete company or something. Wait, a cement and construction company. So he was a drug dealer, and he would sell several pounds of weed to like kids in the neighborhood. And he made plans with all these kids separately to, sell them marijuana, and killed them. So between July 5th and July 7th, 4 young men were reported missing in Bucks County, PA. All were subsequently found murdered. The victims were Dean Finocchiaro, Thomas Mio, Jimmy Patrick, and Mark Sturgis. The murders were carried out by Cosmo DiNardo and Sean Michael Kratz, both aged 20 at the time of the murders. 4 victims were murdered in 3 separate incidents, each after DiNardo arranged to sell them marijuana. So the disappearances, this happened like recently, so you guys probably heard of it. It was like, it made national news, I would say. So the first guy was Jimmy Taro Patrick. I think this guy right here, this one. He was a rising sophomore majoring in business at Loyola University, Maryland, and was last seen around 6 p.m. on July 5th in Newtown, PA. He failed to show up for work the next day. Patrick met DiNardo that night to buy 4 pounds of marijuana, at which DiNardo shot him and then used a backhoe to bury his body. I would have met up with anyone. I know, right? Like, you know, I don't know if they were. I know one of the guys he was really close with, but I don't know if how close he was with the other guys or how many times he had met them before. But he definitely was close with one of the guys. And then Dean Finocchiaro, I believe, is this guy in the top left corner. He was last seen around 6:30 p.m. on July 7th, being picked up by an unidentified person, possibly DiNardo or Kratz. His remains were found on July 12th in a common grave on Soulbury Township farm owned by DiNardo's parents, along with the remains of Mark Sturgis and Thomas Mio. Finocchiaro's body was the first to be identified. Finocchiaro and DiNardo had a good relationship, with DiNardo saying that they were like cousins. As with Patrick, Finocchiaro had agreed to buy marijuana from DiNardo. This was the first murder in which Kratz was involved. The 2 men both repeatedly shot Finocchiaro. His body was placed in a metal oil tank and had been converted to a pork roaster. So, these guys like went missing, and for like days nobody knew what happened to them, and it was like a big thing all over the news, like trying to figure out where these guys went, and they narrowed it down to the guy Cosmo, which we'll read more into it. But I could probably do like even more of a deep dive into this case, and maybe I could contact somebody that, like, people who maybe were close to them or something, and see if they would talk to me about it. But where was I? Okay, so Mark Sturgis went to meet his friend Thomas Mio at around 6 p.m. on July 7th. Both men worked for Sturgis' father's construction company. The 2 did not show up for work, and calls to their cell phones went directly to voicemail. I think they tracked him down by pinging a phone, but DiNardo met with Sturgis and Mio at a church to sell Mio marijuana. Mio and Sturgis were both shot as they exited their truck. When he ran out of ammunition, DiNardo drove over the still-alive Mio with a backhoe, then placed both bodies in a metal tank that also held Finocchiaro's body. DiNardo attempted unsuccessfully to burn the bodies using gasoline. He used a backhoe to bury the tank containing the 3 bodies. DiNardo, a drug dealer, confessed to killing the 4 men. He said he did so because he felt cheated or threatened during drug transactions. He also told investigators where to find Jimmy Patrick's body, buried in another grave on the property. The only motive disclosed by investigators was that DiNardo said he wanted to set the victims up when they came to the farm to buy marijuana. On the afternoon of July 8th, authorities tracked Finocchiaro's cell phone to a 90-acre farm in the Soulbury Township owned by DiNardo's parents, Antonio and Sandra DiNardo, who also owned a cement and construction company. After being investigated for the 4 July 2017 Pennsylvania murders, DiNardo also claimed to be responsible for at least 2 other killings in the previous 5 years in Philadelphia. Investigators have yet to verify these claims. That'd be interesting to look into, see if they looked into it. I don't know. People like that's, I don't know, I guess that's people's way of, burning is probably like the best way to get rid of a body, I would imagine. I mean, I don't think you could totally ever just get, like, there's always, like, teeth or bone fragments or something. It's really hard to just, I mean, you could probably use, like, strong acid or something, but other than that, I mean, not that I would ever do this, but so I breed roaches, which, before everyone thinks I'm a psychopath, I rescue lots of lizards, and it costs a lot of money to feed them. So I breed their food, which I breed mealworms and dubia roaches, they're called. Well, in my dubia roach container, I have to have like a cleanup crew, so when they die or they go to the bathroom, the cleanup crew will, eat the leftover stuff to keep it clean in there. And I use these things called, I'm going to say this wrong. Let me see if I can find it. Dermistus beetles or dermistin beetles. I have no idea if I'm saying that right, but basically, yes, it's for the lizards. So, did anyone ever watch the show Bones? So the lady from Bones, she would keep like a tank filled with these beetles, and when she needed to like clean off bones delicately, she would drop the bone in with the beetles, and they clean all the, like, what do you call it, like flesh on a bone without breaking bones, because old bones can be broken very easily. So these beetles could, I mean, I'll put like a piece of lettuce in there and it'll be gone, like completely disintegrated in 5 minutes. Like just poof, like, so I could imagine, if somebody had enough of them, it might work pretty good. I wouldn't be able to get rid of bones, but arrest. Second cousins Cosmo DiNardo and Sean Michael Kratz, both age 20, were charged in the murders. On July 10th, DiNardo was arrested for an unrelated weapons charge. Despite 30 run-ins with local police, DiNardo, the son of a wealthy businessman, had for unexplained reasons never been convicted of a crime. Wow. I bet you that has to do with his wealthy dad, right? 30 run-ins with the police and was never convicted of a crime. DiNardo was later released after his father posted 10% of the $1 million bail. On July 12th, DiNardo was arrested and charged for stealing and attempting to sell a car that belonged to Thomas Mio for $500. What an idiot. Like, if you're trying to not get caught, that's probably the stupidest thing they could do. Like, why would you take someone's car and try and sell it? It's going to come back to you. And how would you even transfer that title? Like, you just sell it for parts, or just, I don't even know how somebody would do that. Suspicion was also raised by the fact that Mio left his insulin in the car, something his family said would have been unusual for him to do. His bail was set at $5 million. Okay, so the weapons charge was $1 million, and then he was arrested for stealing and attempting to sell Thomas Mio's car, and his bail was set at $5 million. And then the next day, DiNardo confessed to the murder of the 4 men. In exchange for his confession, prosecutors stated they would not seek the death penalty. Yeah, he deserved to get caught for sure. It's almost like he wanted to get caught. The day after his confession, DiNardo was charged with 4 counts of criminal homicide, conspiracy to commit criminal homicide, abuse of a corpse, and 12 other charges. On July 14th, Sean Michael Kratz was also charged with 3 counts of criminal homicide, conspiracy to commit criminal homicide, abuse of a corpse, and 2 other charges. Unlike DiNardo, Kratz had a criminal history of burglary, conspiracy, criminal trespassing, theft, receiving stolen property, and criminal mischief. On May 16, 2018, DiNardo pleaded guilty to 4 counts of murder and was sentenced to 4 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. Later that day, Kratz rejected a plea of 118 years with the possibility of parole after serving 59 years. His trial was scheduled for 2019. I mean, I think that would be a pretty good deal for being involved in murder. 60 years. He'd be like 80 when he got out. On November 15th, if he got out though. On November 15th, 2019, Kratz was convicted of first and second degree murder in the death of Dean Finocchiaro and voluntary manslaughter in the deaths of Thomas Mio and Mark Sturgis. It was later sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Let's look at some of these articles real quick. Yeah, let me see if I can put this on. Oh, it won't let me watch it?
Okay, this is a freezer, not a time capsule. Sometimes I can tell you how a young homeowner is turning into their parents.
Not those two.
Yep, they're gone.
Forever?
Yep.
That there is Progressive's Home Quote Explorer website, where I compared home insurance rates.
We don't need to print the internet. Some are beyond help. I will give you $100 if you can tell me what this is.
Scotch egg.
It's a meatball.
Progressive can't help you from becoming your parents, but we can help you compare rates on home insurance with Home Quote Explorer.
We've got a lot of work to do.
New chilling details in a bizarre murder case out of Pennsylvania. 2 cousins have been charged with killing 4 young men after allegedly luring them into a rural area under the pretense of a drug deal. A massive search for the missing men ended when one of the suspects, Cosmo DiNardo, started cooperating, telling investigators where to find the bodies. He and his cousin, both 20 years old, are facing murder and robbery charges. Let me bring in now CNN national correspondent Bryn Gingras. So, Bryn, what can you tell us about these 2 cousins?
Yeah, those 2 cousins, Fred, both 20 years old, Cosmo DiNardo and Sean Kratz. They are behind bars right now, as you said, on no bond. The judge entered not guilty pleas for them, and they've got these murder charges, but more than a dozen other charges for each of them in this case. As you mentioned, it's related to this case of 4 men who disappeared from this area in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, just last week. And like you said, a stunning confession really from both of those men. In court documents, we learned that DiNardo says he lured one of the men back to his family property, not far from where we are right now, with the intent to sell him drugs. Instead, he shot and killed that man and then buried the body on his family's property. And then, according to those documents, 2 days later, he came back with his cousin, lured 3 more of the men to his family's property, and then shot and killed them with his cousin, according to the papers, buried them in a second grave, and then even tried to conceal their bodies by burning them. I mean, just horrific details and a stunning confession. And once this was all said and done, the district attorney says they were able to find all 4 bodies. They were able to recover evidence from the scene. But I want you to listen to what he said after this case was apparently closed.
We're here to accomplish 2 goals, and that was to bring these young men home to their loved ones who have done nothing wrong, have done nothing to deserve this horrible, unspeakable tragedy that has been beset upon them. And we're here to seek justice for them. And that is our commitment.
And you could tell it was personal for him. Now, I want to mention DiNardo struck a deal with that DA. He will not face a death penalty in this case. However, the DA told us that is not the case for Kratz. It's possible he could still face the death penalty.
I shouldn't have done that because I wanted to save that YouTube. I think I'd go in my history and find it so I can give them credit. But yeah, and then Dave reminded me after I already did all this. This happened in 2017. It was actually it became pretty national because it was like a big deal because all 4 kids were missing and nobody could find them for like a week, and then it all came out. But there's also this girl who was killed and dismembered near where I live and left in this park nearby, which I totally forgot about, or I would have looked into that case too. But if anybody wants me to look into their hometown and, research stuff in there and then do a show about it, send me an email or just let me know. Here's my email. But yeah, it's cacd912@gmail.com. And if you guys want me to do like your hometown and do a show about it, I will. And if you guys want to come up and chat about it, you can come up and chat about it too. But that's all I got. I'm going to hop off because it is getting late and I have to be up early for a dentist appointment tomorrow. But thank you all for coming. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. Yes, Jem, I love that idea. I just think it's so cool because yesterday, like, there's really not a lot going on in the true crime world right now. And I was like, I just want to look into, like, cases in my area. Like, see if there's any interesting ones. And I knew about that one because it had been public, but there's just, like, I just thought, like, it would be cool to, like, look up stuff. And then I thought about it. I'm like, that would be cool to do with, like, my subs if they want me to look into their neighborhood. And obviously, I'm not going to go on and be like, this person reached out to me and said this. I'll just do a show and you'll know that I did the show for you. But I'm not trying to, like, let everyone know where you live. But if you want me to do a show about your hometown, let me know. And yes, I will not have fun at the dentist. I hate the dentist with a burning passion. I'm going to admit I haven't been to the dentist in so long, probably like 8 years because I'm so scared of the dentist and I really need to go. And I'm a nervous wreck. I had like a filling and it like came off. And I also clench my jaw a lot. So like my one tooth is like smashed. When I sleep, for some reason, I clench my jaw. So I need them to look at that. And I think I might have a cavity too. So yeah, I'm a nervous wreck. I just, what I really hate? I hate that little like picky tool. You know what I'm talking about? Like they have the little mirror on a stick and then they got that little picky thing and they pick at your teeth. It just scares me. I'm afraid they're going to like stab that into my gum. And yeah. You love going to the dentist to get your teeth cleaned? You're crazy. Jem, I tried a mouth guard one time. Let me tell you what happened to me. He said, like, bite down and put your imprint in it, right? And whatever it did, it like threw off my equilibrium. I guess because my mouth was so used to like clenching down to a certain like degree and then it couldn't. I woke up, sat up, and I was like, the whole room was spinning. I freaked out. I don't like, it must have done something to my equilibrium or like the pressure or something inside my ears. And I had like the worst vertigo ever. And I was like, yeah, I'm never wearing a mouth guard again. I mean, I could probably try it again to see if it would work now. But at the time, I was so dizzy. I was like, yeah, that didn't work. But I probably do need a mouth guard because I just do it in my sleep. I don't even realize I do it. Oh, I love climbing into bed with clean sheets and freshly shaved legs. There's nothing better than that. Actually, I'm a psycho about shaving. Like, I hate stubble. And I like do it every day just because I can't stand any stubble. Like, I'm not one of those people who will wait a day or two. I can't. But that is a really good feeling. Clean sheets and shaved legs, I agree. But not the dentist. I don't like the dentist. I'm terrified of the dentist. Well, I think I'm scared of the dentist because my mama, she went to a dentist appointment. She was freaking out. She was really scared. And they put her under anesthesia. They didn't check her blood pressure before, and she had a stroke like in the dentist. So I've always been kind of like just not a dentist person since then. But so wish me luck tomorrow because I'm going to have a panic attack before 11 o'clock in the morning. But hopefully I survive and they don't stab my gums with a bunch of sharp things. But all right, well, Good night, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Please like my video if you enjoyed it, and please subscribe to my channel so you can get updates of when I will go live again. You got this. Thanks. Thanks for the moral support. I'll keep you all updated tomorrow in chat. All my friends in my chat. All right, love you guys. Thank you for coming. Good night.